Well, that's one way to ship a first appearance of a major villain. The right way to ship it, I guess, but poor handling. Look at this. I wonder what Mr. Freeze would say about this.
The monster who took you from me will soon learn that revenge is a dish best served cold. Move me to tears if I still had tears to shed.
What's up, everybody? This is Batsman's Classic Cars and Comics, and we're going to talk about one supervillain and one supervillain only in this video. I got a key first appearance of a major supervillain in Batman's world, and we're going to talk about it. So this was actually my first foray into the world of Mr. Freeze.
Everybody into the pool, please.
Victory at last. Soon I'll be able to cover the entire world with an instant ice cap.
The Iceman cometh.
This is Detective Comics 373. It's graded at a 4.5. This is Mr. Freeze, the name. The name Mr. Freeze. This is the first time it's ever used in a comic book for Mr. Freeze. And this was a little bit closer to the Mr. Freeze that we all know and love. But if you'll wait just a second, I will sort of show you probably what most of the guys and girls in my age group know as Mr. Freeze. Boom. So this is Mr. Freeze from Batman the Animated Series.
Tonight I mean to pay back the man who ruined my life. Our lives.
This is sort of where Mr. Freeze, he gets reimagined and sort of recreated by Paul Dini, or Dini, I'm not sure how to say that last name, forgive me. But this is where, I mean, this is the Mr. Freeze we know today, more or less. Really cool character, and sort of a villain that doesn't really want to be a villain, but he is sort of a villain by happenstance. You know, his wife is really sick, and he is trying to find a way to save her, and so he's robbing and stealing, and I believe he uses diamonds to be able to help his research and sort of fuel the trying to get his wife back. But we will talk a little bit more about Mr. Freeze. I'll give you sort of a background on him. Y'all know how I do. But I figured I needed to get this figure from Batman the Animated Series because it's really, for a lot of us, this is who we know as Mr. Freeze, is this iteration right here. So I've also got the Batman figure still on the card and in the bubble as well. It's in my display case that some of y'all have seen. I know. I need to go back in and give y'all an actual guided tour of the man cave, and that will happen this summer, I promise. But I've got some more comic book videos coming, so maybe we'll play a video here. So here's an overview of Mr. Freeze. Originally he was called Mr. Zero. He was renamed and popularized by the 1960s Batman television series, in which he was played by several actors. Nearly 30 years later, a television adaptation of Batman revitalized him once again. Batman the Animated Series retold Mr. Freeze's origin in Heart of Ice, an episode by writer Paul Dini. The episode introduced his terminally ill, cryogenically frozen wife Nora, which explained his obsession with ice and need to build a criminal empire to raise research funds. This more complex, tragic character was enthusiastically accepted by fans and has become the standard portrayal for the character in most forms of media, including the comic book series itself, which previously had the character casually killed off by the Joker. Freeze was resurrected in the comic after the episode aired, though. The episode was seen as groundbreaking for a Saturday morning cartoon and helped set the tone for the rest of the series. This backstory was also made canon in the comics and has been the character's official origin in almost every incarnation of Batman until September 2011, when the New 52 rebooted continuity. Elements of the origin story were incorporated into the 1997 film Batman and Robin, in which he was portrayed by Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, I present to you Batman 121, the first appearance of Mr. Zero or Mr. Freeze. Okay, this has been a book that I've been trying to get a hold of for a long time. Luckily, y'all seen what I paid for it. I believe I showed that probably in the bump, sort of the auction. I was the only one that bid on it. I couldn't believe it. The only thing that this one has going against it is it's got a little bit of tape on the spine, but other than that, this book will display very nice. Man, I get excited just looking at it. You know, I've felt more excitement just a second ago just talking about this than I had when I won it. But I've been after this book for a while. I've got the first appearance now of Bane, which is, you know, that's not a hard one to really come up with. I have the third print of that. I'll talk a little bit more about Bane, though, in an upcoming video. But I've got the first appearance of Bane, first appearance of Scarecrow. That's a hard book to come by. First appearance now of Mr. Freeze. I do not have the first appearance of Catwoman, Joker, or the Penguin. You know, the Penguin is a little bit more attainable, but I would say, just ignorantly going into this blind, I would say that the Penguin is probably more attainable than the Riddler, or obviously the Joker and Catwoman, but really a pretty name brand villain. So really cool, really excited that I finally got this book. It's got to be sent off for grading, but he talked like a German in the Batman 66 show. I don't know. He's talked like uns German. He's uns Mr. Freeze. I believe his last name was spelled like uns German. Like uns German! Anyways, really cool. Really glad to have this. I've got more comic book videos coming up, actually. I got a pretty good little pop the other day on eBay, and then I did some hunting in the wild today and found a bunch of Mark Jewelers variants. So I will be sharing those with y'all in an upcoming video. Hasta luego. I'll be back.